It is 8:31 in the East. We're back with the Fox News Alert. The weekly jobless claims just released, and they were 4.4 million Americans applied for unemployment insurance for the first time as the economy reels over the coronavirus crisis. That is more, slightly more than what experts were estimating. Meanwhile, as we bring in Stuart Varney, host of Varney & Company on Fox Business. Stuart, these numbers, they are staggering. It brings us up to about 26 million Americans are out of work. And while 4.4 million is terrible, it's actually less than last week.
Yes. If you're grasping at straws, if you're looking for something that's positive, then the trend in these new jobless claims is a mild positive. Last week, 5.24 million people claimed unemployment benefits. This week is 4.4. So if you want to look at trends, the trend is down. And some economists may interpret this as the peak in unemployment, the peak in the employment bad news was last week, and now we're on the downtrend. But any way you slice it, Steve, there's no question that April was a dreadful month for unemployment and employment generally. What was that number? 26 million, I think it is now, for the whole month of April. 26 million people thrown out of a job. That's the fastest employment decline in history, I do believe. It's certainly actually worse and faster than the decline in the 1930s. It is a bad situation, Steve, any way you want to slice it.
Yeah, absolutely, Stuart. And that is why, and there are still some people in states who are unable to get to their unemployment insurance to file for it through the Department of Labor because the phone lines are just jammed. I was talking to the Secretary of Labor in Kansas about 10 days ago, and she said, normally they might process 1,000, 1,300 per week. Now they're up to like 50,000 a week. They were absolutely overwhelmed. In the meantime, everybody's looking to Washington to help, and that's why this latest stimulus that should be voted on this morning is going to be important. But Stuart, I'm sure it really angered you to see that some of the most prestigious schools in America actually were queued up for money. Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Yale, all got money. They took a lot of heat. Now they're saying we're not going to take it. But you look, there's still 300 colleges that are. Columbia is going to take 13 million. Arizona State's going to take 63 million. Penn State 55 million, and USC out in California $20 million from the Paycheck Protection Program.
Look, that's very hard to justify. Harvard has an endowment way north of $40 billion. How you can take money, okay, they're going to give it back, but how you can claim the money in the first place when you've got all that kind of money, a mountain of money that you are sitting on, and take that money ostensibly to go to students, you still take it. Okay, you got to give it back, but that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And Columbia at this point, holding on to $13 million. I don't know if they got plans to hand it back, but the bottom line is some of these Ivy schools are taking money, asking for money, and I don't think they should have done that in the first place. You can see also that some big companies have been getting the money. Morgan Stanley says that $243 million went to publicly traded companies, which are pretty big companies, but that's out of a total of $349 billion. So a relatively small proportion, a very small proportion actually, went to these big name companies. Secretary Mnuchin told me yesterday, the Treasury Secretary, he said, look, we are going to go through this process. We're going to hold companies accountable. We rushed out the money. We'll take a look back at where it went.
Yeah, and it will be interesting to see how many companies they actually do claw it back from. Stuart, you've got a busy program over on Fox Business. Starts 24 minutes from right now. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there is the tease, weekdays from 9 to noon. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez capitalizing on the pandemic to push her agenda.
When we have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that.
Sarah Sanders responds to the Congresswoman. Coming up next.
Hey, Mom, if I could talk, what would I tell you? I tell you I love our walks and jumping up to play. We do everything together, huh, Mom? I guess what I really want to say is thanks for giving me Cosequin all these years so I can stay right by your side.
Keep 'em moving with Cosequin Joint Health Supplements, the #1 that recommended retail brand.
Oh, I'd also tell you some stuff about the cat.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but thought it would be too difficult?